what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 1950 Packard 8. Up front is a 4.7 liter straight-8 and down below is a 3-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Packard 8 because this is my first Packard here on the channel. Packard is a really interesting American company and they didn't last much through the 50s, although they were started in 1899. Packards were decently luxurious cars. I wouldn't put them on the scale of Rolls-Royce, but they were special. They competed with Cadillacs, and this car is so incredibly smooth and has a lot of fun, quirky features, so I'm excited to share all of that with you today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And huge thank you to the Rusty Restored Relics Car Club here in North New Jersey for having me out to drive several of their vehicles, but more on them towards the end of the video. But if you'd like to check out their website, it'll be down in the description below. Let's get back to that straight-8. Well, that's what made Packard special. Now, there were many reasons, but the 8 cylinders were what they were really good at. They had done some 6 cylinders during the Depression, but 8 was where the money was at, and this is incredibly smooth. If you're standing next to it, you don't even think that it's turned on. It's quiet, it's smooth, there's no ticking, there's no hissing, and that is what makes this so special and so lovely. When the owner pulled up in it, I said, hey, why'd you shut it off? And he said, well, I didn't. That's how cool it is. Here it is idling in case you want to hear it for yourself. Like I said, paired to it is a 3-speed manual transmission. It is shifted on the column. It's a on-the-tree vehicle. And first gear has no synchro, but second and third gear do. So it's a nice, pleasurable driving experience if you know how to shift on the tree. Last but not least, the Packard is rear-wheel drive, as most vehicles were in this era, unless it was a Cord. But one thing before we talk about how it drives is how to start the Packard. So you turn the key that's off to the left. That's pretty standard. But then normally in vehicles like this, there's a starter button somewhere. Packard actually integrated the starter button into the gas pedal. So turn the key and then you actually hit the gas pedal and that's your starter motor. There's actually a little ball that is held in suspension by the vacuum while the vehicle is running. So it closes off that valve when it's stopped so you don't rev the car when you start it. It's actually a pretty ingenious idea, but driving it is smooth. Now, handling wise, it's not great. It drives and handles like a 1940s car because it pretty much is, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So turning is not great. This is a straight line vehicle and you pick that up pretty quickly as soon as you try to turn it, but everything is smooth, everything is posh, everything has attention to detail where you might not have seen it in other vehicles of the era. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 2 gauges. Off to the left is my speedometer, and off to the right is a clock, and I do get some little gauges in the center for temperature, battery voltage, oil pressure, and fuel, and I do get a nice little Packard badge. On the steering wheel, I get another Packard logo. Absolutely love seeing that. It does have a horn, though, that still works. I love it. And off to the left, we have that ignition switch that we just talked about. Moving out of the door, we just have a smoker's window, crank for the actual window and latch to get in and out. And moving into the center, we do get this giant speaker. This is for the radio, and we have our climate controls and all of our switches and buttons down below here. Really cool to see all of that for like our map light and clutch and blower and headlight, fog lights, things like that. We also do have our heat and venting options down below. However, in the center of all of this, we do not have a cup holder, so the Packard 8 fails the big friggin' bottle test. The seats are very comfortable. It is a bench seat and they have almost no shape to them, but that's how cars were in the era. You could get in, you could slide over, and it was nice. Very plush interior, really comfortable interior, And speaking of which, we do have back seats, so let's go do a backseat review in the Packard 8. Getting in the back of a Packard, ugh. It already feels like a sofa. I have so much space back here, so much headroom, and an ashtray, of course. Thank God I have that. No center console or anything like that, but I do have like an armrest over here like you would see on your grandma's couch, and I like that a lot. It is so cool to be back here. It's so comfortable to be back here, and it's just, I mean, taking in the sights, taking in the smells, taking in the feelings. This is a very, very cool automobile. Let's hop around back and take a look at the trunk. All right, around the back of the Packard. Open it up like that, and you do get a trunk. The late 1930s is where we really started to see integrated trunks like this, and they always had their own different style of how they operated. This is just a simple handle, as you can see. Tons and tons of space back here. We absolutely love to see that, and then just bring that back down, twist, and there you go. That is how you open and close the rear trunk of a Packard. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is a good thing and a bad thing. First of all, I do think that the car is very pretty. That's the good part of the Packard. It's a pretty car. I think it looks good, and it's just cool to be driving and seeing something of this vintage. But the downside of it is that this is a very 1940s style design. This is what's known as the bathtub styling, and this was pretty much thrown out with the bathwater in the 1950s. But Packard didn't really update their stuff for 1950, which lost them some sales. But that was kind of common because Packard actually had military contracts during the war, so they were busy doing other stuff that they didn't really have time to design new vehicles. So Packard started off the 1950s kind of on the back foot, and by 1954 they actually joined forces with Studebaker. But Studebaker was kind of already cooking the books, and Packard wasn't doing great either, and so it was kind of two not great companies coming together, and the Packard name would barely live towards the end of the 1950s, and then it was all over after that. But let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Packard 8? Well, the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway from this vehicle is going to be how smooth it is. It is genuinely one of the smoothest vehicles I've ever driven ever, and that's including modern day vehicles. That's including the $500,000 Rolls Royce I reviewed on the channel. It's up in that territory for sure. It's quiet, it's smooth, it's luxurious. It's a hot knife through warm butter, and that was kind of the calling card of the Packard. That's what made them special. It's a shame that Packard went under because it wasn't for lack of building good cars. It was the market, it was the big three, it was situational more than anything. Had the war never happened, we might be driving Packards today. Had they not joined forces with Studebaker, maybe I would be driving a 2024 Packard. But I guess it's one of those questions that we will never get the answer to. And so here today, we get to enjoy a Packard 8, something that hasn't been around for a very long time. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Rob for letting me take out his Packard 8. He also owns the Hudson Hornet that I drove last year, so he's had some absolutely wonderful 50s cars that are really 40s cars. Rob is awesome to work with, as well as the entire group over at Rusty Restored Relics. They are fantastic, and I appreciate them very much. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.